Have you ever wondered why a software engineer in Jakarta earns so much more than a factory worker in Bekasi, even if they both work just as hard? Or why some jobs pay a fortune while others barely cover the bills? It's not just about hard work. Have you ever wondered why a software engineer in Jakarta earns so much more than a factory worker in Bekasi, even if they both work just as hard? Or why some jobs pay a fortune while others barely cover the bills? It's not just about hard work. There's a whole economic story behind every paycheck. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of why people earn what they earn, and we'll tackle the tough topic of discrimination in the workplace, all through the lens of what's happening right here in Indonesia. First up, let's talk about why wages differ so much. One of the biggest reasons is something economists call compensating differentials. Think about it. Would you rather work in a comfy, air-conditioned office in the Sudirman Central Business District or in a deep, dark coal mine in Kalimantan? Most people would choose the office, right? That's exactly why coal miners in Kalimantan often earn significantly more than office workers in Jakarta who have similar skill levels. The extra pay is compensation for the dangerous working conditions, the health risks, and being far away from family and city comforts. It's the market's way of saying, hey, thanks for taking on this tough, unpleasant, but necessary job. The higher wage is needed to attract people to do it. It's a voluntary choice people make. Take a more pleasant job for lower pay or a less pleasant one for higher pay. Next, and this is a huge one, is human capital. This is the secret sauce that can dramatically boost your earnings. Human capital isn't money. It's the collection of skills, knowledge, and experience you have. The more you invest in your own human capital through education and training, the more productive you become. Let's take an example from Indonesia. An electrical engineer who graduated from a top university like ITB in Bonding and has a few years of experience under their belt will earn way more than a high school graduate. Why? Because their specialized education and practical experience make them far more productive. They can design complex systems and solve problems that others can't. In economic terms, their value of the marginal product of labor, or VMPL, is much higher. Basically, the value they create for their company per hour is greater, so their wage is greater too. This also applies to on-the-job training. The more you learn and develop your skills at work, the more valuable you become, and the more you can command in salary. But hold on, it's not all about degrees and job titles. 3 other factors play a massive role: ability, effort, and pure chance. Ability is your natural talent. Some people are just born with a knack for numbers, a creative eye, or incredible athletic coordination. Effort is how hard you work. Two people with the same ability can have wildly different outcomes based on their dedication and work ethic. And then there's chance, or luck. Being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right person, or stumbling upon a golden opportunity can change your career trajectory overnight. Think about the founders of Indonesian tech unicorns. Sure, they were smart and worked incredibly hard, but they also launched their ideas at the perfect time, just as Indonesia's digital economy was about to explode. That's a mix of ability, effort, and a healthy dose of good fortune. Now, here's a spicy debate in economics about education. We've talked about the human capital theory, where school makes you more productive. But there's another idea called signaling theory. This theory suggests that maybe your university degree doesn't actually teach you that much that's directly useful for your job. Instead, what it does is signal to employers that you're a certain type of person. By finishing a tough four-year degree, you're signaling that you're intelligent, disciplined, and can stick with a long-term project. Employers see the diploma not as proof of knowledge, but as proof of your underlying abilities. So when a company in Indonesia prefers a graduate from UI or UGM, are they doing it because those universities provide superior skills, or because a degree from there signals that the candidate is in the top tier of smart, hard-working young people? The reality is probably a mix of both. Let's move on to the superstar phenomenon. Why do top entertainers like Agnes Mo or superstar athletes earn astronomical amounts of money, far more than performers or athletes who are just slightly less talented? This is a feature of winner-take-all markets. In these markets, technology allows the very best performers to reach a massive audience. Everyone wants to watch the best football team or listen to the most popular singer. Since you can stream a song from anywhere, the best artist captures a global market. There's only one best, and they get most of the income, while the person who is 99% as good gets a tiny fraction. The same logic applies in the corporate world. There's only one CEO position at a major company like Telkom or Astra. The competition for that top spot is fierce, and the person who gets it earns a superstar salary that is multiples of what their vice presidents make. So far, we've talked about wages set by the market. But sometimes, wages are pushed above what the market would naturally decide. This happens for a few reasons. First, minimum wage laws. In Indonesia, every province sets an upah minimum provinsi or UMP. This is a legal floor for wages, designed to protect low-income workers. Second, labor unions. When workers band together in a union, they can negotiate collectively with employers for better pay and working conditions than any single worker could get on their own. And third, a concept called efficiency wages. This is when employers choose to pay their workers more than the market rate. Why would they do that? To increase productivity. Higher pay can motivate workers, reduce employee turnover, attract a better pool of applicants, and even improve worker health and effort. Paying more can actually be more efficient and profitable for the company in the long run. Now, we need to talk about a darker side of the labor market: discrimination. Discrimination means treating people differently based on characteristics like their gender, race, or ethnicity instead of their productivity or qualifications. It's a sad reality that persists in workplaces everywhere, including here. So how do economists even measure this? It's tricky. You can't just compare the average wage of men and women and say the difference is all discrimination. We have to be more scientific. Researchers adjust for differences in human capital. They compare men and women who have the exact same level of education, years of experience, and are in the same industry and type of job. If there's still a wage gap after accounting for all those factors, then that unexplained portion is often attributed to discrimination. Another method is using experimental studies, like sending out identical resumes for a job opening, with the only difference being a typically male name versus a typically female name, or a name associated with a specific ethnic group. So, what does this look like in Indonesia? Numerous studies have explored the gender pay gap here. And consistently, they find that female workers, on average, earn less than their male counterparts, even when they have comparable education and experience. This gap isn't the same everywhere. It tends to be smaller in government jobs and education, where salary structures are more rigid and transparent. But the gap can be much larger in the private sector, especially in fields like manufacturing. Part of this gap can be explained by differences in career choices, hours worked, or years out of the workforce, but a significant portion remains unexplained, pointing towards the presence of discrimination. But who is doing the discriminating? It's not always as simple as a biased manager. First, you have taste-based discrimination from employers. This is pure prejudice, where an employer simply prefers not to hire or promote people from a certain group, even if it costs their business money by passing up on talented workers. Then there's statistical discrimination. This is less about personal prejudice and more about making assumptions. For example, an employer might believe that, on average, women are more likely to take time off to care for children. So, when faced with a male and a female candidate who are otherwise identical, they might hire the man to avoid the perceived risk of the female employee leaving. They are discriminating against an individual based on a stereotype about a group she belongs to. And it doesn't stop with employers. Customers can also be a source of discrimination. If customers of a business show a preference for being served by people of a certain gender or ethnicity, the business owner might respond to that pressure by hiring accordingly just to keep their customers happy. And finally, governments themselves can be a source of discrimination through laws or policies, though thankfully, many overtly discriminatory laws have been dismantled over the years. Understanding the economics of earnings and discrimination is crucial. It's not just academic. It affects real people, real families, and the overall health of our society. Recognizing the different factors that determine our wages, from compensating differentials and human capital to the ugly reality of discrimination, is the first step toward building a fairer and more prosperous future for everyone in Indonesia. The next time you see a wage difference, you'll know to look deeper, beyond the surface, to understand the complex forces at play. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the economics of everyday life, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.